Yeah, so one of the biggest plus points that I would say that the IPMer has, given the nature of the course, is basically the amount of different domains of knowledge that you have access to. So, for example, mathematics, statistics, learnings from the humanities that include political theory, psychology, sociology, also your third language. So, the biggest plus point that this sort of a holistic development, especially in the first three foundational years, actually enable you to do is basically to they basically offer you a perfect foundation where you can actually go forth and experiment with your interests and with your likings, with your passions, see what you actually like since you have been given so much on a platter. And then once you have developed an interest for maybe one or multiple of these domains, that is when you can maybe take a deeper focus into them through many means. Firstly, once you get into your MBA, or maybe by picking up some research projects or some sort of other projects that you can do in your spare time or maybe through your internship. So once you have developed your passion, you can basically take a more concentrated, a greater deal of concentration into what your interests are and then take it from there. So that is one massive plus point that I see in the way IPM has a lot to offer for people across domains. Pruthvi, you would like to add something
Yeah.
from your end?
Yeah. So very similar experience. I would like to add one more big point for me, especially, and I think for Kaivalya, our peer group. So Kaivalya, we were roommates back in the day. So it's like something that you keep on learning from these people, and so these learnings can be something very small, like having a second to their culture, etc., and at the same time learning from their own passion, their interests, etc. So quite a few of things rubbed off from all of our peer group. So we had a close group of close to 6 odd people. I have learned immensely from those uh, five folks, and over the years these people have also helped us in quite a few ways, and these things keep on getting you better as you go on. So in class learning as well as out of class learning from these people, I think, is a massive plus point, because you have people who have varied interests. So you have people picking up different subjects in your second and third year, and you still get to interact with them. So we all 6 of us, we still talk about politics on almost day-to-day basis, geopolitics, humanities, etc. We still talk on those topics almost every day, and we have our own views, and those views are also kind of shaped in a way where all of us now kind of rub off on each other, where our opinions, etc., we are in a space where we can do that very freely in our group. And at the same time, all 6 of us, almost all of us, had very very varied interest in reading as well. So you had a couple of us had Harry Potter had as their favorite books. Many of us kept on only reading non-fiction. So these things kind of also help you keep on growing. So that is one. And on top of it, I would say keep yourself immersed in as many activities as possible, because you don't know as to what is going to give you a chance to actually take it up on a bigger stage. So we participated in case study competitions, which I think kind of helped us as to how we perform in a group. So that is something, if you can do something as a group, it might be better for you to, if you're thinking of starting up, let's say, a case study competition is a good way to go forward with that, because that gives you an idea as to how you are solving problems as a group. So that is also one more thing where I would like to stress upon, as to keep performing as a group. And because groups are a thing that it's like a thing that is something that you need to grow, because as an individual can only grow so much. So you need groups to actually keep on growing from each other. So yeah, that is it from
So
my
a
end. Yeah.
couple of more points related to the academic part of things. Firstly is the openness of faculty members to actually engage in doing research projects with IPMers in the first 3 years. So that I believe is a fantastic place to start off with, both even if you want to get into hardcore academics or if you want to, go into the corporate, maybe have a startup. So that is a fantastic place from where you can start off. Basically, picking up a field that you like and then approaching your professors for maybe further research or some sort of a collaboration in academic terms for that particular field. And secondly, and this is something that is not used, that I would say most people do not utilize to the full extent that is possible, and that is the amount of resources that our learning center, our library actually offers. So if you actually go to the online library portal, the sheer amount of proper full subscriptions that the institute has to fantastic tools of learning, fantastic tools of applications, that is also something that I believe can be levered very, very much in the first 3 years of IPM. Yeah, so this sort of harks back to Pruthvi's point about the importance of a peer group and the importance of having varied interests in IPM, and that is again an advantage of IPM, like Pruthvi said. So Pruthvi and I, we both had a very strong interest in the financial markets from a pretty young age. So for me, from basically from the time we were 15, 16, and then when we met and became friends in IPM right from I think the first month of IPM itself. That was a fantastic opportunity for both of us, where we could exchange ideas together, learn so much more about the financial markets, and of course the rest of our peer group as well. So that basically we had an interest that got cultivated through this very iterative process that we had in place. So over the first 3 years of IPM, peer group had helped us a lot in discussing ideas, learning new approaches, learning new methodologies, being exposed to newer and more varied sources of information that allowed us to, improve our skill sets. In addition to that, and Prithvi can cover more of this, is basically the mathematics and statistics heavy nature of the IPM course in the first 3 years. Prithvi can take up more on that. So these are 2 points that I see off the bat. And like I said, the varied nature of IPM. So for example, something like an integral part of running a startup, of being an entrepreneur, is basically the communication skills that you bring on board. And again, the sheer exposure to a very, very intelligent peer group that we have in IPM, as well as the varied courses that you have access to in the domain of communication, for example, and the many opportunities that you actually get to speak your ideas out in class, to have free debates through your student activity council, with professors in the classroom, with your peer group in the classroom. This all basically molded, I would say contributed several different aspects to various things that actually go into making any startup or undertaking any project. Prithvi, if you want to add something.
Yeah. So in addition to that, so this is like a precursor to whatever we are doing today. So whatever Kaivalya said, basically there was no specific idea in our mind. We had absolutely no clue as to what this would go on to become, and we still actually we do not have a clue. Don't get me wrong, but back in the day, we had absolutely no clue that this is something that could cultivate in an idea for a company, basically. So we just kept on rubbing each other off in our ideas, and quite in just one call about in 2020, back in lockdown. So Kaivalya called me, and he was doing an internship at a family office where he saw a presentation. So that is when he called me and told me, ki, Prithvi, is this something that could we do it as a project for our lockdown, basically, because we had almost no work at that point in time. So he told me, ki, can we take this up as a project? I said, why not? Yeah, we can definitely do that. This is something. And he sent over a presentation, that the presentation of the product. So we started building upon that, and that is when I realized that this is something that we have been discussing over past 3 years, and this is something that could very well become very huge. But we were still in back in, I think, May June 2020, we were still cultivating it as a project kind of thing, because we mostly were thinking that we had our colleges starting from July 2020. So that is when we thought as to we'll keep on working on this. And what helped us is that we started developing models at a very young age. So a young age for the company. So back in May and June 2020, we started building our models which could actually govern as to what could be traded on the market, and how that would be governed. So we started, and again, don't get me wrong, this is something that is very, very well available in the market. So this May and June iterations were something that were tried and tested by thousands of people over past, I think, 15-20 odd years. But we thought that that is something new, so we started doing that. And in that process, we started gauging towards somewhere around 30-40 odd research papers, and we started cultivating our idea in a more nuanced way. So we started developing a niche in that. At that point in time, we started making sure that this is something that we want to read more upon. So And I would say that both of us being from this background where we understand economics as well as statistics, so that helped us quite a bit, because we were governing our models based on factors from these both subjects. So we have we started with a very rudimentary form of linear regression. So something that you are learning in IPM 1 can actually turn out to be something that you can use on a day-to-day basis. We still use linear regression as a part of our model. So that is something that we started cultivating, and over the past couple of years, we have kept on developing on that. But the base was whatever we learned over in college, and we started gauging. So because we had a very keen interest into finance as a whole, so reading research papers, etc., and at the same time, IPM also gets you in that bracket as to you're not very. It's not very difficult for you to read. So we started reading up research papers, which were honestly not very difficult for us to at least read onto, because we were exposed to those many ideas in our 3 years. So that is when we realized that this is something that could, in about, I think, somewhere around, if I'm not wrong, August, we realized that this is something that could very well become a company, and we could very well develop a product on this end. We started studying market as to what the broad market is doing, and we thought that this is something that there is a gap here that we can bridge. And yeah, that is how we started off. And over these months, we realized that we need computer science graduates also. So I approached my friend here to help us out, and Kaivalya approached his friend out in Goa, his childhood friend. So his childhood friend is our third partner, basically. So yeah, this is how we started up.
So basically, I would say the very, very important parts firstly is how you work with ideas and how you come up with ideas in the first place. So any startup, any project that you work with is going to be in the ideation phase, where you just maybe tinker around with how you can build things in the first for a considerable amount of the first few months, or maybe the first 4 to 6 months. And that is once when you actually know whether you have the confidence to actually build a product out of this, and whether there is a potential, whether there is a potential for a market fit out there. So we had started, like Pruthvi said, as a summer project in March 2020. By September is when we had the confidence to basically scale up our ideation, make a product out of it that we could actually pitch to the clientele that we had in mind. So so if you look at it, our official journey started in September 2020. So this September is when we have completed 2 years of operations now. And yeah, so basically that I would say that was the whole starting off point, and how IPM linked to that as well very effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah, go on. Sorry.
yeah. So one of the challenges that we faced was basically that for us to be starting off, we were folks who had started off at a pretty young age. So when we got our first deal done, the first time we approached a client was when Pruthvi and I were 21, 22 years of age. So given the way the field of finance works, that was probably starting off a bit early. So one of the, I wouldn't say a problem, but a challenge that we faced at that point in time was basically convincing people of our products, because the way the finance industry does work to a very large extent is where oftentimes it's your age and your experience that actually sometimes matters much more than how good your products are. So that was one place where we sort of had a challenge, but then through sheer performance of our products, of our services, is how we were able to basically get past that initial challenge. And once you get past that the initial phase of that challenge, that's when a lot of gates are then thrown open to you. And then you can just, so it's after a point in time, it basically becomes a network effect, where once you once a certain client is convinced of the particular problem that you're solving using the particular product that you have designed, and if he or she is then very, very convinced of your performance, then it basically sets off a sort of a cascading effect, where you yourself have a lot more confidence in the product that you build, as well as basically the network of things that is unleashed after that, where one client leads to another, which leads to another, leading to another. So that was one challenge that we faced, and that is one of the approaches that we use toward solving it. Basically patience and making products that actually end up speaking for themselves and proving themselves once they're given to the client. Pruthvi, if you want to add something. Hello.
I think he's lagging.
Yeah, okay. I thought I lost my connection.
He left the meeting.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So regarding this, I think the way the question is framed is, I think we still face n plus one challenges. What Kaivalya talked is only, I think, n. We are still at a phase where we keep coming. So we ourselves keep developing those problems and those challenges. We keep solving them ourselves. But yeah, to outline a few, adding on to Kaivalya's point, yeah, so age is one big factor where we thought as to that is something that in the finance industry becomes very difficult when you are 23, 24 year olds going to pitch a product where pitch a product to basically who have been in the markets for the number of years that you have been on earth. So that is something is kind of, because that is something that was given to us as a feedback by 3 to 4 people. So that is what I would like to add together. At the same time, your fixed, there's no particular figure. Till date, we don't know what salary we are going to draw at about, I think. So we have a chat at about first or second of the month as to what amount we are going to get a salary for that particular month. So yeah, it's still in that phase where we, and because we are bootstrapped, it becomes difficult for us to keep on keep doing that. So we still are at a place where we do not want to pull too much money out of the company, because we want to keep on growing and we want to keep that bank. So yeah, this is something that and at the same time, most of our peers have started earning quite well, because you're graduating from the college. So it becomes difficult at that point in time. You can start thinking a bit as to if it's all worth it. But again, you go over, next day you work and you realize it's definitely worth it, and I think it's worth it 10 times more. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so basically, when you're working with any sort of an independent idea, project, startup, things will keep breaking, but you need to make sure that the things that keep breaking are of a more advanced level. So don't keep breaking the same old things. So get those broken things fixed, and then go to take it to the next level, and break some more things and fix them, and so on. That's the that's the way you grow and scale. Yes. So with regards to mentorship, I remember speaking a lot to Professor Siddharth Rastogi. So more that mentorship was more towards the end of working with the mindset that is required to run a startup effectively. Because like Pruthvi and I said in previous questions as well, in answers to previous questions, the whenever you're working with an independent idea project startup, there are times when you're doing really well, and then there are times when you're in the doldrums. So, and particularly when you're at this age, it does tend to weigh down on the mental aspect of things, and that is especially when you require a very very good mentor and you require some good support. So one of my mentors, one of Pruthvi's as well, has been Professor Siddharth Rastogi. So he comes from a business family, so it was very very nice speaking to him about how businesses are to be run in the long run, because at the end of the day we are a startup, so we want to speak to businessmen out there, make them our mentors as well. So from the IPM faculty point of view, he was a great mentor. He still is. We are often in touch. So basically, how to get your mindset right, how to keep pulling yourself up, even keep basically keep yourself going, keep yourself motivated even when things are going in the doldrums. So that was one aspect that I personally found very, very enriching, given the IPM connection and especially the faculty group that we have.
yeah. So adding to that, I think it's not only specific to the journey that we are having right now. We have had people who have guided us in college, professors who have guided us in college. So Professor Sneha Thapliyal was one. So she kind of was quite instrumental in getting us into research aspects of research, where both of us we did our CIS with her. So that kind of also helped us as to how research is conducted, because a majority of what we do is basically reading and coming up with ideas from what is built already in the industry. So that is kind of in the mental space that we have. So CIS kind of helped us quite a bit in that, and the kind of results that you want is something that she set a benchmark, and that is what we still are adhering to. So yeah, so something of that sort. At the same time, going into details about courses that kind of were instrumental, I would not want to pinpoint only a couple of courses, because I think it's a plethora of all the courses that help us. So we are using linear regressions, we are using machine learning, we are using all of that, but that is only one aspect of it, because running it all, you need accounts as well. I still do not get accounts, but we still kind of manage somehow. But yeah, none of us do actually. None of us do get accounts, but it still is. So if we had paid some attention in college on that particular course, I think we would have gotten a hang of it. I would. So it's not that that one particular course is going to help you through your journey. It's going to be all of them combined as to and giving you an output. It's not that it's just statistics one, economics one, or macroecon one, etc., etc. It's going to be all of it, and all of it combined, where you can actually gain. Because only, let's say, if we were given only stat 1, stat 2, stat 3, and all of those, we would not be in this position to do what we are doing right now. It is, we are here because it was all of these combined that gave us a good idea as to how we want to run things. So yeah, that would be.
So it's basically sort of drawing the dots between various courses and various experiences that you have had in IPM, that basically then compounds and makes a very fantastic interconnected thing that actually helps you out.
See, working is, this is something that I would not leave anything for. This is, it's kind of at a place where you want to keep on working, I think. So in our first year, in our first 2 years, we were working almost 6 days a week. First year, we were working 7 days a week, and we still weren't tired of doing that. So, and I think still to date, we take a day off just to make sure that we are not burnt out. So, but it's not that so it's something that you keep waking up every day and you keep enjoying, and you keep enjoying breaking things, and you keep enjoying fixing them back together. And it's kind of, at the same time, you are living a very broke life. So you want to get accustomed to that. You want to get accustomed to living with your parents for, so we are doing that right now as well. So because we are see, again, all of this boils down to, because we are bootstrapped, and we didn't raise money. So again, and again, raising money has their own different problems, but all of this is coming from that point of view. It's not that you start up and you live a broke ass life, but it kind of goes into that, where you want to be as frugal as possible. So even in our office space, we have made sure that we cut down on cost as much as possible. So over these past 2 years, we have had almost extremely minimal costs that are required. So we haven't gone out and hired, let's say, 10-15 odd people, even though we wanted to do that. We didn't do that because neither did we have the capacity to scale up that high when we are bootstrapped, and at the same time, nor did we want to lose out on that much that higher profit. And at the same time, so again, coming back to bootstrap, we have had been profitable since, I think, day one, because of our minimal cost structure, and because the industry also helps us in a way where we can scale to, let's say, 10x 20x of what we are currently, without deploying those many resources. This is a industry where the scale is massive. You can basically work with a team of, let's say, 10 people, and manage somewhere around 5,000 7,000 cr. So that is an industry that we have picked up. And at the same time, in this industry, we have seen, because it is not direct to consumer facing, we have seen that the costs, etc., are not that high. So yeah, we have been in that mindset as to keeping the cost as much as low as possible, not hoping for any salary out of it, or for let's say next coming two odd years. Again, this all boils down to what mentality you are in going into the startup space. Uh, yeah, so Kaivalya, if you want to.
And I would also say one of the biggest points of exposure and basically learning has been when we actually go out and raise capital from an array of investors. So the way our clientele is structured is we work purely with family offices, HNIs, and institutional investors. So basically at this age, to be able to get into an office with these people, to have an interaction with them, because these are basically at the end of the day people who call the shots in the world of business, locally, domestically, nationally, as well at various levels. So from that point of view, it has been a fantastic learning experience and an ongoing learning experience where we have had the opportunity to actually build products that bring value to people of such a stature in society. So merely, and there has been massive learning merely through interactions with these people, as well as their stories, where they've come from, where they want to go, their visions of the future, and to be able to work with such people in such close proximity, I believe has been one of the most satisfying experiences of the last 2 years. And secondly, the sheer amount of learning that has happened, and most importantly, independent learning, right? Because, for example, if tomorrow you're working in the corporate, you have a manager at the end of the day who, to a very large extent, is telling you what you're supposed to be doing. These are the tools that you require. This is the amount of exploration you have to do, blah, blah, blah. And then you replicate this and complete projects for the particular company. But when you're running a startup of your own, the sheer independent learning that happens, that is just fabulous. So for example, Pruthvi and I, when we look at ourselves 2 or 3 years back versus where we are at right now, back then it would have been very difficult to actually imagine the very same people in just 2.5 years uh, doing the kind of activities that we are doing, speaking the way we do, having the sort of financial market, the sort of macroeconomic knowledge that we have at this particular juncture. So from that learning point of view, it has been an absolutely fantastic experience and an ongoing experience as well. So the learning curve is really fun if you're up for it. And the sheer amount of people, very high quality people that you actually get to interact with, these are all people who have fantastic visions. They have done a lot of building. They are absolutely highly motivated, highly committed people who are bringing out a lot of change, and to actually be able to interact with such people on almost a daily basis, having them as part of your clientele is a fantastic experience.